Is there a dark side to this hobby of playing role-playing games? Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. This is a video response to a video called Dark Side of the Hobby by, I believe it's Samuel G. Not sure if I pronounced the name correctly, and I apologize if I mispronounce it. First off, let me give you a little bit of my story. I started role-playing games when I was in my 20s. And when I started playing, I was in the military. I was stationed in Germany. And we were playing every night of the week that we were on post. So we would play every night. I mean, we were gaming every night, and when you bought a new game, we would try it and we'd do things. And that's where a lot of my games come from, is that period of time. And there was an interesting comparison. I remember one of the guys coming in, and was playing occasionally, and then he started playing more and more. And one day he got talking, and he says, "Okay, we're young guys in the service, and what are young guys in the service known for doing? Going out and getting drunk and carousing, shall we say." And his comment was, he said, "I can go and spend a weekend drinking and partying and things like that, and it will cost me X number of dollars. And at the end of the week, I'm out that amount of money. Or I can take that same amount of money and spend it on role-playing games or other kind of games or war games or board games, and I can have," he says, "as much fun playing that, and I can play that week after week after week." So the interesting comparison for a young man, particularly a single young man, is, do you want to spend the money drinking and partying, or challenging various things in gaming? And to me, it's a no-brainer. I much prefer this mental stimulation of the games. And off and on during my life, there have been a couple of periods where I have stopped gaming, and for various reasons. And I think that happens with everybody's life, that certain things come up in your life that distract you. When I got married, there were years when after getting married, there were other things to do, shall we say, rather than playing games and that. And then I came back, and certain things happened, and so on. I was running a couple of years ago, I guess it's now getting on close to 2 years ago, I was running 2 games a week. And I was having a lot of fun. And I was gaming and deeply involved with doing things like that. A couple of things happened in my life that changed things. First off, my wife passed away, but that actually, in hindsight, yes, I miss her and so on, but she took a lot of my time, and that actually freed up more time. But shortly after that, I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Now, as my gastroenterologist says, I'm one of the lucky 9%. There are only 9% of people who had stage 4 colon cancer who ever get a clear CT scan. And I've had 2. I've had 2 CT scans that show no cancer. But what happened was, when I was going through that and I didn't know what was going on and all that, and going through chemo and everything else like that, I just didn't have the strength to game. I was so busy trying to do other things. Because one of the things that got me through that, and I appreciate the company I work for very specifically, because they let me take on a very challenging project. And that project is still going on. And what happens is I spend a lot of time doing work. And that helped me through the other challenges in my life. But it has the downside that I'm not gaming as much. Now, I plan to get back into that soon. And I keep working on my world and planning things. And Perhaps is that the dark side? No, because I enjoy that. I do these videos. Is that the dark side? I don't think so. In essence, anything that you enjoy that is your personal thing, that's not a dark side. I like science fiction, and where I met my wife was at a world science fiction convention. I've been to 14 of them over the years. 14 world science fiction conventions. So you go there, but science fiction, reading science fiction is sort of a, so we say, a private endeavor where you sit back in your chair, or maybe if you're in bed. I don't like reading in bed. I prefer to sit up and sit back in a chair, and you've got your book or you've got your tablet now or whatever, and you're reading the story. That's private. That's dark. In essence, you often can do that in a dark room, particularly if if you have a book light or if you're dealing with electronic copy where you're playing that. Is that a dark side of the game? No, because I have, what you see behind me is some of the stuff, but I've got lots of bookcases filled with books. I'm a bibliophile. I love books. I have lots and lots of books. That's one thing that's about me. And I keep them. I've been collecting them for many years. But that isn't a dark side of liking books, liking to read. Now today, electronic have some advantages. There are things that I do like where I buy the hard copy and so on. And it's interesting to buy source books of a variety of things. Like, for example, I know I've got Forgotten Realms sitting over on my shelf, but I've never played it. I've read through it. I'm familiar with it, but I steal it for ideas. I've got lots of textbooks sitting up on the shelf, which you can't see. It's behind this monitor here. I have a whole set of bookshelves filled with textbooks and things like that. Have I read all of the textbooks? Perhaps well over 60% of them I've read completely. Some of them I haven't read completely. Some of them I've used as reference books. But I have reference books on a variety of topics. Does that make that a dark hobby that I like books? That I like books in general, and I like the books that are part of this hobby. So I don't view this as a dark hobby. And the interesting comparison, oh, it's a dark hobby that you don't meet up with other people. No, it means that you prefer intelligent conversation and you can amuse yourself. Now that's an interesting question. Can you find things to keep yourself amused so that you don't have to have company of others, that you don't, because there are times in your life when you're going to be alone. And do you have to have the TV on? Do you have to have something? For me, I would like, if I don't have a book or something like that, that gets a little rough, but I can start thinking in my mind and planning things out and figuring out things. It's sort of a test of what kind of person are you? Can you sit down with no radio, no music, and keep yourself entertained? For me, often that's books. That's on the computer. Do you have to be on the internet and things like that? Can you go out in a cabin in the woods? I'll let you take a few things, but no electronics. Can you survive without going stark raving mad, as the saying goes? For me, it'd be like I'd always like a copy of the Bible, and I would like a few other books to keep me enthused with. I remember the strangest one is when I went away to preliminary NCO academy when I was in the military. And they said, you will not have any time to read. Don't take any books. And I didn't believe them, so I took one book. And I happened to take a very, very good book, which was Roger Zelazny's Lord of Light. And I read through that about 5 times. It's an excellent book, by the way. But I had a lot more time than I expected on my hands. So these books are a way to keep your mind stimulated. And I like to be around other people, and I like to have conversation. And I like stimulating things like that. But it's not a dark side. To me, it's a sign that there's a time in your life when you may not be able to go out and game with others for various reasons, but you can sit down and by yourself and not required to a television or a computer to amuse yourself. It's nice to have them. I mean, I've read books on the computer and so on, and you have tablets with the Kindle and various things like that, or running the Kindle app on a tablet or so on, or a laptop or whatever. But you can keep yourself amused. So that's more the question. I don't think that's the dark side. You see that more, and I hate to say this, and this is sort of prejudice, is that people who tend to be a bit more intelligent don't need other distractions. I don't need the TV on all the time. I only turn the TV on occasionally. I don't need the radio on all the time. So I like it. I like music. When I play the music, I like the selection of music. But I don't need that to keep me entertained. I can have books, I can have role-playing games that I can work on, and that will keep me amused. And when you're part of your life, when you're alone, that's not the dark side. That's the part of life. That's part of growing up, I think. That's because you'll find there are periods of time in your life when you're alone. For me, I went through chemotherapy alone. I was at home. I had some friends and things like that I was interacting with, but there were a lot of the time where I'm just home by myself in my dealing with that. And that's true today. I'm living someplace else, but there's no one here most of the day. So I'm alone and I work, and that keeps me very occupied. And I enjoy that. And I think I have a very full life. I enjoy what I want to do, and I am looking forward to some stress relief from my job at work. When at the end of April, it keeps getting extended out. But in theory, at the end of April, when we finish the release of this project, then I will have more time, and it won't take as much from me. But I don't think it's a dark side. I think what people are seeing is that it's a natural outgrowth of somebody as you go through life. There are periods of time when you will have times by yourself. This makes me think of a section of the Bible, Ecclesiastes 3. There is an appointed time for everything. There's a time for every event under heaven. There's a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to shun embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. That's Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 9, 1 through 8. And that's what I said. There is a time to be alone and a time to be with others. And it's just a part of life. So thank you for watching my video. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.